Hey everybody!
Hello.
Welcome to another episode of Talking UpStream. And in this one, Dylan is going to introduce what this show is, so I don't stumble over myself like I did last time. I watched that back and it was stupid.
No, that's fine. So yes, you are watching Talking UpStream, where myself, Dylan, and Zach over there, I'm never going to get that mirror right, we are two content creators, the some nobodies out of Boulder, Colorado, and Talking UpStream is an attempt for us to broadcast what it's like to be in a meeting that we have. So Zach and I like to write a lot, and we tend to have, when we can get together, meetings where we discuss like ideas we have, the process of turning that idea into a project that we can ideally make, produce, and put out. So this is our attempt to turn that process into a 90-minute kind of segment. Of course, we'll get back more into the actual creation idea later on, because we like to highlight a guest for the first third of the show or so. So if you could join me in welcoming Jeff the Shark Porrini from the Yo Show, we'll get him in here.
Right on, no banter, just right to it. Good job.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, Jeff Porrini, how are you, sir?
Doing great, man. Nothing I love more than getting on these kind of shows and talking with people and talking up the podcast, webcast platforms. So I'm thrilled to be here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, right on. We met you in the Indie Pods Summit, where you and I were eating hot pepper adjacent things. So that was cool. Did you do anything else on the summit that time?
We did we kind of came near the end on the last day. Myself and my partner, my co-host, my sister from another mister, Jewel Tatey. When you're out there and you watch this, Jewel, I love you. We did a little bit about our show. We did like a half-hour little piece. And it was just great. What a tremendous project. We were thrilled to be part of it.
Yeah, so your show is called The Yo Show.
Yes.
Why don't you tell people who, for some reason, don't know what your show is, tell them what your show's about.
Is it possible that nobody knows? No. We are The Yo Show. You can find us at www.theyoshow.com. www.theyoshow215.com. The 215, of course, comes, we're Philly-based. So we like our Philly acts. We bring on local musicians and play their music. We bring on Hollywood celebrities. And we basically do like a 30-minute interview. It's like a 2-hour show. It's a variety talk. We do top 5 lists of some of our favorite things. We do like man cave scores where I show off like my crazy collections, like my Funko Pops, my giant Stormtrooper back there. I also can't get the mirror thing down. I know how you guys feel about pointing the opposite way.
It's hard.
Very hard. It's myself and, as I said before, Jewel Tatey. We basically just do entertainment. We don't get into anything hard-hitting. We have fun. We drink a couple beers. We shoot the breeze. Our guests are always great, friendly, and I got to tell you, I absolutely love it. And this way, with StreamYard, makes it even better because when your audience can see who's out there, they really tend to attach to you tighter. So it's been terrific.
Yeah, especially if you got a good-looking mug like yours. I got to deal with somebody that looks like Dylan over there.
Yeah.
That's what Jules all about. I always tell people, you know, the audience comes from my mouth and Jules' face, and she gets worked up over, but I think it's true.
Well, then by that, we should not have a TV show because they come from both our mouths, and I think that's it. So the Yo Show, what was the conception of that? Like, what brought that on? What made that start?
Well, I started, probably about 5 or 6 years back with a friend of mine, and it was the Stoop was the name of the show, STOOP, and we became the Stoop Radio Network. After a couple of years, he bailed. He says, "I'm done. I just can't do it anymore." But he was more New York based. I'm like, I want a Philly based show. Here I found Jewel, and Jewel's like, "What's more Philly than Yo? Like Yo's a big Philly term." So she's like, "Let's do the Yo Show," and I'm like, "I like it." And then I met her. I said, "Like, here's how we do it." I said, what do you want to bring to it? She said, Philly acts, local musicians, indie musicians. Let's get them in on the act. And I'm like, this is perfect. And then I told her the salary is $0. And she said, I don't care. I don't need money. I'm in. And here we are.
Oh, cool. Yeah. That's interesting because I used to do stand-up comedy in Philadelphia, so I'm very familiar with that area. And I'm surprised you didn't call your show something with the word John in it, because I feel like that's the most Philly word ever. So I just moved to Colorado a couple years ago, and I say the word John occasionally, and people are like, what's that? What are you saying? And I'm like, I guess it's an East Coast thing.
It is a crazy entity to teach people what John is all about. Friends of mine live in Virginia Beach, and we actually had a weekend full of them, and they're like, is this John? I'm like, yep. Is this thing a John? Yeah, everything you touch is a John.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, like John and Wawa are the two things that I gotta constantly like describe to people. They're like, it's a gas station. I'm like, no, it's a lot more than that. It's like your heart, but whatever.
You're always
but
yeah, it's the big deal around here.
Yeah. And you do miss them. But back to the Yo Show. So Talking UpStream, which is our show, what we're trying to do is talk ourselves up to a streaming service. We're trying to create something that somebody sees and they go, hey, we got to give you those two guys a job creating movies. If you were to have an end goal for what the Yo Show can do, what would be like the pinnacle of what you're trying to accomplish?
Probably get divorced and have a different chick every week. No, I'm kidding. We would like to be a program that and I know you guys will realize this too, like Jules big into YouTube, and for some reason it takes like an extra click or two for your audience to get to YouTube. We just want to be so consistent, and make a few bucks. We want to be so consistent that people just know, click YouTube, this is your weekly show that you watch no matter what. The way you watch anything on TV, you'll just come to us every week and let us entertain you for a couple hours and just have a good time with us. Like StreamYard does. You got a comment section. Comment. We'll share your comments. We'll talk you up. We'll play with it. You know what I mean? That's the goal, is to just have us be a consistent weekly program that people just know to come to.
That's true. And speaking of which, if you're watching this on YouTube or Twitch or wherever you're watching this, go ahead and give us a like or subscribe or anything. We got a whole bunch of stuff going on. But
for your free content.
Yeah, we're doing all the hustle here. You just do the easy thing, which is clicking.
It's a bell, man. Just hit the bell. Really.
That's it. Just hit that bell. Just hit that bell. I promise you'll not be upset. So our show is based a lot around creation. It is a conversation, but it is based solely around creation. When it comes to your show, how much creation or thought process do you go into some of your shows? I know you said like the man cave or the beer thing. Is there a creation concept or a meeting time that you guys go through?
Very little. I mean, me and Joel do text during the week, and it's more or less just, hey, what's up? How's work? This, that, and the other thing. And then probably a day or two before, I'll write what I call a treatment, like they say in show business. And basically the treatment is just like a timeline. Like, we're going to do this top 5 list. We're going to talk about these topics. We're going to ask the guests these questions. And there's really no argument. One of us kind of takes turns. We look at it and says, sounds great. And away we go. We'd like to consider it raw, live. Like, we don't edit. We go live. Everything we say is there. But like you guys said, we don't say a lot of bad stuff. We usually kiss a lot of butt because we have great guests and we have great audience. So we've never had a moment where we're like, oh God, I got to go back and get that off. Just doesn't happen. So we like it that way. We kind of like it. What you see is what you get.
That's cool. And we're looking at your catalog. You guys have a lot of episodes. You guys do a lot of stuff, which is cool. Out of all of your episodes, out of all of your things, what would you say is the one that stands out as, oof, I wish we wouldn't have done that?
We were fortunate enough to get a Instagram influencer model, Brianna Dale. And she's gorgeous. I mean, she's just sexy and everything about her is great. And she started the show and said, oh, should I put on a bikini? And I'm like, no, you know what? Stay how you are. And it wasn't so much that, but we talked her into doing shots. And we just got so out of our minds that I don't even remember the last half hour. And I'm still afraid to watch it because Jules said the things that were coming out of my mouth were just out of control. I'm like, you know what? I never want to watch it again. I don't even want to know. It's on YouTube. Check out the Yo Show and you'll search Brianna Dale. I believe it's episode 99. She was a lot of fun. Caved in. We had a blast. But, man, that last half hour, if you watch it, tell me how it happened because I don't want to know.
Yeah.
Do something like that, Zach.
All right. Well, in all fairness, last time you got drunk, Dylan, you kept asking me to put a bikini on. So I guess we can do that. It's fine.
You're right, but think of the views.
That's true. Not yours, ours. Our show, we just this is episode 26, which is a big deal for us. We just hit 25 episodes. That was something that Dylan and I talked about in the very beginning. I was like, let's just hit the 25 and see where we go from there. So that was one of our first benchmarks, and our next one we're not going to talk about right now. But what would you say is the next benchmark that you'd like to set for the Yo Show?
We did our 100th. We're on episode 134 coming up. We did our 100th. We brought back a bunch of guests from the beginning. Had a nice little party out of it. Jewel and I dressed up. So right now the goal is to get to 200 and kind of go from there. Like there's names that we pursue that are bigger that we'd love to have, but that's tough. We don't expect everybody to say yes. You got to break your eggs. But for right now, we're just like full steam ahead to episode number 200, and like I said, maybe a few bucks in the process.
Yeah.
In that vein, you're mentioning some guests. Is there anyone in particular you are really gunning for?
I kind of mentioned this to Jewel, which I shouldn't have done. I kind of did it by accident. Her birthday is coming up at the end of January. I have hit this PR firm about 3 or 4 times for the musician Bishop Briggs. She is a massive Bishop Briggs fan. I have been begging. I'm like, look, it's my co-host. It's her birthday. She's a single mom, hard worker. She's like my platonic love of my life. I need this. And I keep getting, we'll see. We're working. We'll see what we can do. So, but other than that, like, I like funny people. We've had some good ones. We've had Steve Howie from Shameless, Hal Sparks, so we get good comedians on. We get some of the attractive ladies, the 80s ladies. We just had Nancy Valen on, Erica Leniak, Bobby Brown. So I like it all, man. I'm not picky. I just love great people, good-looking people, because that seems to draw the crowd, male or female.
Yeah. You seem like a pretty big movie nerd or whatever. You got a bunch of pop Funkos back there. That's cool. That's pretty impressive. What would you say, because we like to ask people this, it goes back into generations. What would you say is your favorite Batman?
That's easy for me, and I get so much heat from this. It is, and if I had to put together like a whole Batman thing, it would be Christian Bale as Batman. He would be driving the 1966 original Batmobile, and the villain would be, I would have every Joker. I would have Nicholson, Cesar Romero, the late great Heath Ledger, and even Mark Hamill. Like, I'd have 4 Jokers, kind of like multiple personality Jokers. That would be my Batman movie.
Yeah.
All
so
right.
not Jared Leto, huh?
Oh, yeah, I left him out. To me, that wasn't really the Joker. That was kind of like a mobster with Joker paint, but it didn't work for me. I mean, I'd rather have Margot Robbie bringing in some Harley Quinn.
Dylan, go ahead.
Would you have Mark Hamill playing the Joker physically, or would it be the animated Joker somehow pulled into your Batman movie?
Oh, that's a great question. You know what? I would probably work in the animation kind of like a Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
With Hamill and his comic one with the 3 live ones. That's actually like a really cool idea. I like that.
Yeah,
that one's free.
Like an Into the Spider-Verse, but of Batman.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yes.
Oh, into the Jokerverse?
Into the Jokerverse, yeah.
I think we got something.
Yeah. Now in Philly, this question is probably going to be a little bit easier. We find out that everyone has a version of a celebrity experience when they're in like an airport or at a Wawa or whatever, and they come across that one weird celebrity, and that's a weird story, such as the time that I met Robbie Knievel, which I don't want to talk about. I hate that time. What would you say is your celebrity experience?
Oh, let's see. It's on the tip of my tongue too, because I have a few, which is weird. I used to go to Atlantic City a lot. My parents used to be, they used to go to casinos, and we'd be walking around. So even as a young kid, the Love Boat Charo. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Charo. You're a little younger than me, but like the rocking coochie body, and she was in this tight dress. And as a little kid, I looked and I'm like, wow, you are stunning. And some guy's like, back off, kid, and just pushed me out of the way. And then she turned around and stopped, and she said, thank you, and rubbed my cheek. And I almost fainted as like a 13 or 14-year-old kid. Like, she was just that awesome. But that's, I run it a lot more like this to athletes. I'm always like, you're so-and-so. And I get geeked. I do. I'm not going to lie.
That's cool. If you could pursue any creative project, like let's say that the Yo Show takes off and you get just a bank of money, and you could do whatever creative thing you would want to do because you have endless money. What is that creative endeavor you would like to go do?
That sounds great. I would probably enjoy a daily program on like Sirius satellite radio, but I would like to bring in real people. Yeah, we have celebrities, but we also do a piece where we bring in real people, their real job, like the local construction guy, the local hairstylist, the local bartender, and bring them in and let them have their shot at getting noticed. Like, hey, one day a week you can see Jennifer at this bar, slinging drinks. Make sure you go there, take good care of her. People dig that, and the people that don't have shows or don't normally get any press love coming on and speaking their piece. So I think that's cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
You seem like a hustler. Like you say, like not as far as like a monetary hustler. Like, you're hustling a lot. You're doing a lot of shows. You have big dreams to do a lot of shows. Do you ever get to the point where you kind of hit like a wall and you're like, I just don't know if I want to do this anymore? Have you hit one of those creative walls?
Right now, I gotta say, absolutely not. And the beauty of it is, I know COVID has slowed people down in a lot of ways. If anything, it's brought me and Jewel closer together because we yearn for the Wednesday. By the way, we're on every Wednesday, 8 p.m. We do Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitch, like you guys do as well. And all during the week, we just text. And then Wednesday, a few minutes before the show, where her face shows up here and my face is here, and we just like, hey, man, what's up? Thank God it's Wednesday. So right now, I love it. It actually is a nice change of pace. The creating process keeps my mind flowing. So I love it. Right now, no end in sight.
Yeah.
Sorry, people out there.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Their best efforts.
Right, exactly.
Dylan, what do you got?
So, I mean, you're very clearly driven. Is there an inspiration that you pull a lot of drive from? Is there anyone that you're not necessarily trying to emulate, but who would you count among people that have kind of driven you to do what you're doing?
I give a humongous shout out, and it's an easy question, honestly. I give a huge shout out to Jimmy Starr and Ron Russell out. They do the Jimmy Starr show. They're based in Florida. They get great actors and actresses on their program. They've gotten over 1 billion views. They're just fun. They're a married couple, Jimmy and Ron. They're hilarious. They're kind of outrageous. They have all the answers. They turned us on to StreamYard. Like, we were in a studio. Studio said, we're done. COVID. I'm like, great. So I went, I'm like, Jimmy, I need help. He's like, no problem. Here's the site. Go on. This is how it works. Guests come on and they love it. So I think Jimmy Starr is my number one guy that's kept us afloat. If he catches this, Jimmy, I love you, man. And we want to have him on our show sometime. They're just excellent people.
Jimmy Starr. All right. Yeah, check it out.
Yeah.
When you're meeting all these people and you're having all these conversations, do you ever get to a point where you start creating something fictional? Do you ever like draw or write or do sculptures or anything? Does anything creative start oozing out of you other than the Yo Show?
Not really. I mean, a couple of female stars I fantasize about, special scenes with. No, I'm kidding. That's crazy. But no, honestly not. But that's good though, because me and Joy consider like, hey, let's do a live event. Let's show up because a lot of bars say, hey, come out to our place. Let's go to a bar and let's bring somebody out. Or, hey, let's be the MC to a great band. Like, we'll MC them, we'll joke it up, bring a band out. So we're working on it. I said the show right now is about as creative as we get, and a lot of people think it's simple, but it is, as you guys know, it's a lot of work even just doing this.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. And I keep pushing Dylan to do 10 more things.
Yeah, he does.
So obviously, you tell people in real life you got a podcast, you talk to people and it's like, yeah, I got a podcast. One of the first questions people always ask you is, where do you get your ideas from? A, do people ask you that question? And then B, where do you get your ideas from?
Well, I do get asked that a lot. A lot of people, they ask me where I get my nerve to be the way I am. And as you tell, I drink some beers on the show, so that helps. And Jewel drinks rum, so that helps our creative process. Wow. And our ideas kind of come from the guests. Like, if you look on Facebook or Instagram, there's a ton of talented people out there just dying to get a view. And you invite them on. They're like, wow, really? Okay, I'll come on. And then from there, we kind of feed the show off of them. Like, our top 5 list usually has something to do with the guests indirectly. The topics we just get off again, social media, fun topics like man gets foot caught in bear trap while being chased by alligator. And we talk about it, we laugh about it, we think it's ridiculous. But our ideas are very simple. Like I said, it kind of pops into our head just by what's going on in the world. I know people say, oh, social media is this and that, but social media is also a terrific source to find out the funnier side of life.
Yeah, it's a tool.
Yeah, that's definitely
for
true.
sure.
Yeah. Is there one topic that you have wanted to tackle recently that you haven't really found the right moment to? Or do you tend to pull more from like kind of like headlines or something like that and just kind of see what crops up?
I like entertainment of all sorts. We don't do politics. I got a couple guests lined up, and you kind of ask them, like, anything new you want to push. And like, can we please not talk politics? And I agree. I don't know enough about it. It's a sore spot. I'm not into that. But recently we've been doing more sports. My co-host is not really a sports person, but we sneak in little sports segments near the end that I like because I'm a sports junkie. So we're working that in. I get friends of mine who do booking or fantasy stuff and all that. We kind of work that in a little bit. So that's really it. Everything else, like I said, it's so open and so basic that there's not much we don't tackle, but we're here to entertain. We don't really want to tackle the stuff that's going to bring people down.
Now, so you interview a lot of people, and one of my shows is called I'm Nobody, where it's like a reverse interview show where I get people to come and interview me, ask me 10 questions, whatever they want to talk about, because I want to have conversations with people, not just stupid like, hey, what's your favorite color? But I want to have like a nice conversation with people. But because you're an interviewer, is there a question that you like or that you go to more often than not?
That's a great question. We usually like to ask people, and you kind of asked me, we kind of like to ask them their influences, who got them into their craft. And singers, we always ask like little questions like, if you had a chance to get on stage and collab with somebody, who would it be? I kind of always like to know who creates, like who gets creative from what other artist. And basically, I said, like the podcast community and the webcast community, I feed off all you guys. I see I watch everybody. I see what they do and say, yeah, I could do a little bit of this. And I want to do a little bit like that. Or I don't want to do it like that at all and be the opposite and do it like this. So I always like to know where people get their creative ideas from.
Yeah, that's cool. One of the best questions that I was ever asked was somebody asked me if my life was a season, like a series, like a television show, what season am I in? And I thought that was such an interesting question. So I'm going to ask you, say your life is a series, like a television show, HBO Max, whatever you want. What season are you in right now?
It's funny you said that because me and Jewel have always joked and we've always been in season 1. So we've never gotten away from season 1 because your life is, to me, your life, your show, everything you do is one giant season. And the finale, of course, is, God forbid, the finale. So everything is just one giant season long. Like I see people breaking into series in season 2, season 3 episode. We just run with the episodes, and it's one big, enjoyable season.
Well, I didn't necessarily mean the Yo show. I meant Jeff Porrini as a human being.
Yeah.
I'm in season 49, if you know what I mean. I hate giving out that number, and sometimes it makes people but I'm in season 49.
Yeah, I was thinking
every
about
year
it.
is a season.
Yeah. I didn't when I was asked that question, I didn't really take it as so much like years, but I was thinking like, okay, well, I lived in this area till I was 12, and then big culture shock, so that was all season 1 and blah blah. So yeah, I'm kind of in season 7. I think Dylan's in season 3.
I think I gave you like 6 or something like that.
Yeah.
It's been a while since you asked me that question, though, so who knows how long it's been.
Yeah.
But like as we've seen from 2020, like 2020 is like a year that sticks out in everybody's head. But like every year, to me, in my opinion, has its ups and downs. So to me, it's 49. Like 2021's off to a great start. Our beer business is doing good. Our show's doing good. My personal life's doing good. So to me, every year is a season. And you're going to have, wow, what a tragic season. And then, hey, this is a good season. So yeah, it's 49.
Yeah, right on. No, that's great. Dylan, you got any more questions before we get into our jibber jabber?
So Jeff, we talked a little bit about interviews, and I just got 2 more. You have a question that you have never been asked, but you've always wanted to be asked?
That's also really good. I kind of like the direction of what else creative am I into. I also like really stop dead in my track crazy questions, but that more or less comes from the question asker more than out of my head. But
fair.
like I always say, like I do, and my wife gets so aggravated. Listen, I do anything for a laugh, anything for a rise, and I've done some stuff. So
crazy questions. All right, here's a crazy question, Jeff. Let's say that you could lose one of your senses, but gained it in a different way. Like if you lost the sense of smell, but you could actually see odors. What sense would you lose, and how would you pick it up?
that sounds good. I would probably tone down my sense of taste a little bit, especially because being in the beer business, sometimes you don't want to drink a clunker and be like, ugh.
Yeah.
So I'd take my taste down, and I would definitely magnify my hearing. So I'd love to be at a distance and hear what everybody's got going on, because people like to whisper. I like to catch everything. So definitely hearing. I would like to hear everything.
Yeah, right on. All right. So before we get into our stuff, do you want to pitch your show one last time? Tell people where they can find it, where they can see you. What is the easiest way to find the Yo Show and the Shark?
Awesome. I really appreciate that. So on Facebook, we are still the Stoop Radio Network. It's a name we're kind of locked into for reasons beyond, but the Stoop Radio Network on Facebook. YouTube at The Yo Show. We're also on Twitch at The Yo Show. And again, the website is www.theyoshow215.com. We go 100% live every Wednesday night, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. We run to about 10 p.m. Eastern, maybe a little longer if we're having that great of a time. Again, it's myself, Jeff the Shark Porrini, my co-host, Jewel Tatey, who I have self-proclaimed as the most beautiful woman in all of podcast webcasting. It's a good time, really. If you just want to have some laughs, or even if you just like, God, these people are ridiculous, it's that funny, come check us out. It's worth a shot. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, right on. How did you get the name The Shark?
Oh, this was great. From a long, long time ago, when I hit 30 years old, I became single again. Wasn't married, but I had a girlfriend for a long time. And just turned 30. My buddy's like, dude, we got to get you out. Let's get out. And we would go out to the bar. We drink tons of beer, drink tons of shots. And we used to hang out, and, you meet girls. And the one girl's like, God, this guy drinks like a fish. And my buddy's like, no, this guy drinks like a shark. And I'm like, and that was it. From that point on, they started calling me that, like, drinking like the shark, drinking with the shark, and it just became the Shark. And I've stuck to it for 20 years. Again, my wife hates it because it's my single days nickname, but it's stuck.
Not a bad reason to have that nickname, I suppose.
Yeah.
I like that. Hey, it's much better than it could be. I'm not that Shark Tank kind of shark. I'm just a drinking shark.
Yeah. Dylan, do you have a nickname?
No.
I'm gonna work on that.
You can't give yourself one. It's got to be one that's given to you. Right?
No, I didn't know if he had one that I just never heard or didn't know about that I could use for purposes.
I have stage names, but those are different.
Yeah, that's true. No, I know a couple of those. Okay, Jeff. So we're going to get into our version, our portion of the show, if that's okay with you. Sure. Last week we had on Joe Ketchum with Word Salad Radio, and he helped us pick a really weird thing that Dylan won. Actually, it was a weird. You want to wrap that story up real fast?
Yeah. So the idea I pitched was that the world got thrown into a time loop everybody was aware of, in a way to like give them time to resolve a natural disaster that was coming. Oh. And we spent a lot of time just discussing the moral implications of the entire world, knowing that the status quo resets at the end of the day. So it was a pretty hefty concept. So I'm looking forward to doing something maybe that's a little lighter this week.
Yeah. Before we go into our pitches this week, I want to throw a special shout out to International Broadcast Media Television for having us on and having me and Dylan connect through these horrible times and keep our friendship going strong with friends like Mr. Jeff Porrini over down there.
You did it. You got me on the first try.
Yeah. People that do help us out, we want to throw another shout out to Scott Curtis with Behind the Bits podcast. That guy is awesome, has supported us from the beginning, and is really an awesome guy. So if you want to be interviewed, you reach out to Scott Curtis, and he is an award-winning interviewer. If you don't know him, check him out, Behind the Bits podcast. Sarah Tkachuk, our friend on the East Coast, she's awesome. We love her to death. listener app is awesome, and they support us constantly. If you like to, if you want to hear the shark, but also read the words instead of just listening to them and save the jokes in word format, then you go to listener app. You can find them on Instagram at the Greatest Podcast App. And that's about it. We're going to get into our stuff. So the one that lost last week, the one that I pitched, I had this idea because of my fantasy with like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat and that kind of weird thing where people just get warped into a fighting tournament. I had the idea to do the same style thing, but with public domain figures. So because Dylan and I like to work with a very small budget, we make our movies, we thought nothing better than public domain figures. They're free. They are weird figures. But we wanted to write a story that is Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter-y, but only using public domain figures. So public domain Street Fighter is what we're going to call this one.
All right.
So that's the one that I would like to work out and see whatever that is, if it's a comic book or a movie or a cartoon.
So the idea I've been thinking of, Zach, in grade school, did your English teachers ever have you read Gary Paulson?
Yes.
Jeff, are you familiar with that name at all?
No.
He was like a
I'm older, keep in mind.
he was very active in like I think the 70s. He's been writing for a long time, but a lot of his stories deal with man versus nature or that sort of thing. And there was one novel that always struck my interest called The Rifle, where it followed a rifle across the decades as it's owned by different people. And I'm a sci-fi nerd, so I figured, what if we follow like a laser gun after it's like being used in like a space revolt or something like that, and maybe like we know that it's going to be used for something dramatic, and we follow it across as people either like pick it off the ground. I'm not describing this very well, but
wait, so the whole movie you're following a weapon?
Yes, and it would probably be like a number of vignettes of the people who have that weapon.
Oh, so like the opening of Lord of War, but of like a longer, cooler version of that.
No, that's a way better description of it. That opening for that movie where it follows the bullet, but instead of a bullet, it's like a blaster rifle or something.
And you said that this thing is rigged to blow, so then the audience knows the whole time. Did you say that?
It's something, yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be used in something dramatic.
Oh, okay, cool, yeah. So, all right, well, that's interesting. Cool.
We know
what do you call this thing?
Laser following. I don't know. I don't have a title for it.
Okay, so obviously, if you pick this one, Jeff, we're going to workshop this name also.
Yeah, no, I mean not to intervene, but if you think about it, you could follow the Han Solo blaster through its journey of shooting at Greedo first, or vice versa.
You could definitely do something like that. Hopefully, Disney wouldn't sue us for doing that. But
true, yeah.
All right, Jeff. So what we're going to do is we're going to pose this question to you: which story would you like to see us work on? Whether it's a public domain Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat situation, or whether it's laser followers. Dude, that is such a bad name.
That's a bad one.
Like, really?
It's tough to because
you could have said laser chaser at least. Like, that's even closer.
That's good.
Come on.
I didn't know. I'm standing by it.
This is what COVID does. Because we're not in the same room, we don't connect wavelengths anymore.
Yeah.
In there, I feel you.
Yeah.
God, they're both pretty interesting projects, and I kind of hate to pick one over the other. But man, no offense, Dylan, but I'm going to work on public domain Street Fighter.
Oh, no good.
I'll take a week to better develop that title.
God, laser followers.
And I don't want to say the title hurt you. It's not great. I'm not going to say it hurt you.
I'll say it for all three of us.
Yeah.
Win, if you're listening, Win's our director. Win, if you're listening, let us know in the public chat whether you think laser followers is a terrible name or not.
I really hope he's listening to correct the episode.
Okay, Jeff. So what we do now is we take about an hour. We kind of develop this stupid idea into. Oh, you got a smiley face. All right, it's fine. You're good.
Oh.
And we try to develop the thing into whatever story it kind of wants to be told, whether it's a movie, a cartoon. Sometimes we do graphic novels. One time we did a board game. That was a weird one. But yeah, so we're going to start developing this thing into whatever it's going to be. So public domain Street Fighter. Now, I'm assuming, obviously there's going to be a tournament-based system, and they're going to be pulled from somewhere. So we need to kind of figure out where that somewhere is if we're going to acknowledge that, and then what the structure of this is going to be.
Yeah.
Now, Dylan.
Yes.
You are an accomplished novelist. You have pieces of paper with your name on them and seals that are probably clamped with, what's that called? Notarized?
Notarized.
Wax?
No, you have a degree or something, right?
Yes, I have a degree.
Now, if you were trying to use your degree to write a story about a tournament, do you think that is a serialized tale or is it a single capsulated story?
If it's serialized, I'm seeing it as a limited thing. This isn't the type of idea I think that you do like a week to week to week to week thing. I think it's like
now keep in mind
arc in Dragon Ball Z.
Now, there was a Mortal Kombat television show that was in the early 2000s that did absolutely poorly. So I will beg to differ that it can happen. Jeff, would you like to see this kind of project as a movie, as a maybe a series, like a weekly series? Like what do you, when you think of like a Street Fighter type of thing, what is the best style of format for that?
I would go, I would obviously try to pursue the hot thing right now, which is Netflix. And to add to the juice of the kind of fighting, I'd probably like to go maybe anime, maybe comic, something of that nature, because you could definitely do a whole lot more of wild fighting scenes than just like trying to get humans. And even with the the graphics today, I still think comic is the best way to really make it explode.
Now, but I will say that anime is a very interesting idea. So I think we should go down that for a little bit. So Netflix has recently put out those series where it is anime versions of things. There's a Wolverine, there's an X-Men, one of Dylan's favorites, Castlevania, which is pretty good. Would that be considered anime version?
Which
That's
one?
pretty. What the Castlevania?
Yeah, it's an American animation studio, but the style is definitely very much in that vein.
All right. So let's go down that path, and let's say we're going to do like an 6 to 8 episodes right now for Netflix, right? Let's just see how this works out. Now this is anime, so we need to come up with like a base timeline of what the season is going to go over, and then we'll break that down. Dylan, will you do me a favor and kind of pull up some public domain figures, Google some of these people, and let me know who, like some of the more interesting ones. I know for some reason Thor is a public domain figure, but he is God level, so I don't know if we want to throw him in there.
No, that's
Thor from the mythology is
right.
What we got to be careful about, because that's why Marvel has used Thor in the past, is because technically any religious figure is technically public domain.
Oh.
Any religious figure.
Okay. Wow. Really?
Because it's a religion, you can copyright it.
Oh, a religious figure.
Yes.
So Jesus is a public domain figure.
We could have Jesus in this if we wanted to.
Oh, jeez.
Now, would you say Jesus is God tier level?
I mean, that's kind of the main part of the creed, isn't it?
We have
maybe
the third God level?
We have to think, do we want to go down that road?
Well, I was thinking that it would be cool if Jesus was like the Shang Tsung of the like if he was he was like, maybe he's doing like a thing who's like, I need more angels or something.
I like the idea that it's a divine figure, but let's make it like someone who's not actively worshipped in the modern era, like Ares, or some sort of like god of war or combat, some mythological figure like Beowulf. Beowulf could put this on. Or Gilgamesh.
That's pretty cool.
Gilgamesh is after like glory, so he invites all the best fighters across time or something.
Jeff, any of these people standing out to you as a cool figure to like kind of start having all this happen?
Yeah, I kind of like where you guys. I kind of like the page you're on. I'm a Zeus fan, but that again, you're talking gods, so that's a tough one. So I kind of leave this one up to you guys. I like where you're at so far. Though. I kind of like the ideas.
Cool. All right, Dylan, throw one out there.
Let's do Gilgamesh, because his whole thing in the ancient myths was about finding glory and immortality.
Okay, so Gilgamesh is putting on this tournament. Now, what do you think he's going for? What is his goal? Why is he making these people fight?
Well, traditionally in any sort of tournament arc that has like a major named person as the facilitator, that facilitator has an ulterior motive to assembling all these champions. Whether it's something along the lines of like getting super powerful people together to defeat them all at once, or to drain their power, or to find someone worthy to take their place. I see any of those going for it. Well, Gilgamesh, I suspect it's probably just like, I want all the best fighters in the universe to come together so that I can find the best fighter, and then I can beat him up.
All right, so he's finding the best fighter of all public domainity, only to find his ultimate fight.
across all the public domains.
Is that a word, domenity?
It is now.
It is now.
Yeah, probably.
I like it.
So then the season finale is going to be Gilgamesh versus whoever wins in this tournament bracket style thing.
I think if we're doing a straight tournament arc, yeah, that makes sense. If we want to subvert it in some way, I don't know what that would entail. But
the finale of the show is still going to have to be that battle, whether or not that battle happens or whatever happens during that battle. That would be the pinnacle of a tournament style show. Is the ending of Karate Kid? You got the fight.
Yeah.
So we're gonna say this is the final battle. All right, Dylan, why don't you throw some people out that are in public domain that you would like to see battle? I guess we got to keep them kind of at the same tier level, maybe, but we'll figure that out later.
Yeah. The first one that comes to mind is Conan. He is technically in public domain.
That's a cool one.
I like that.
Let's see who else I can find. Any of the old monsters, Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, the Mummy, any of those we could have whichever ones show up. I kind of like the idea of like Dracula, but as like I don't know how to explain it, but a less who was the actor who was very famous for playing Dracula?
Gary Oldman.
Other one.
Bela
Lugosi, was it?
Yeah. Less Bela Lugosi Dracula and more like a Castlevania Dracula, where he's kind of dignified and powerful.
More like Vlad the Impaler, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay. I get
we could get Sherlock Holmes is public domain.
Oh, cool.
As of this last month, we could have
Great Gatsby.
Maybe he's a sponsor.
Gatsby's a sponsor.
Yeah, but you could like spin off and have Gatsby hire his own little squad of fighters that he just bosses around with all his money. Like, I got this fight, go get him.
What if we treat this closer to League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, where we don't draw too much attention to the fact that we are explicitly using public domain figures, but it's like someone, I don't know, whichever character is going to be the main window. Gatsby like shows up and goes, I have a job and he flashes some money or something. And then it's Gatsby maybe trying in some way to either make money off of the tournament, or in some way Gatsby is kind of the initiating incident as for why this person got involved.
So I'm not sure why this popped in my head, but Jeff, have you ever seen a movie called Digstown? It came out in the late 80s.
No,
with James
I've
Woods.
heard of it though.
Yeah, it's a really cool movie.
Oh, wait a minute. It's coming to me. Yeah, I believe I see, because I've seen so many, and I just kind of flash across somebody to forget. But yeah, it's
Lou Gossett Jr. and James Woods is in a town, and he makes a bet that he has a fighter that can win 10 fights in one day. So
it's actually a great movie.
Phenomenal movie. And that's also, and that just popped in my head as a really cool tournament style like storytelling technique would be to have kind of like everybody, like maybe Gilgamesh is finding all the people to fight himself, so he's fighting like everybody by himself over and over again to prove that he could fight 10 of the best people in one or something like that. So maybe just keep that in your brain also, Dylan.
Maybe Gatsby is like Gilgamesh's not courier, but the guy who always shows up and is like, my employer's putting on a tournament and he's interested in your presence there, and then he hands them like an envelope.
It's like an indirect agitator, kind of, if you will.
Yeah.
Or like a manager or promoter or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right. So we're going to send Gatsby throughout time or something to pick all these people out to tell them, hey, yeah. All right, cool.
Let's see. Who else is in, like, all of Lovecraft's stuff is public domain. All of the Alice in Wonderland stuff, all the Edgar Rice Burroughs stuff, Robinson Crusoe, Zorro, but it looks like Sony is in kind of a fight over who owns Zorro right now.
Well, we'll put him in for right now, just because
why not?
He's a cool fighter. Because honestly,
how fantastic do we want these fighters to be?
I mean, I think it should be interesting to watch. So we'll throw a couple fantasy people in there.
I really like the idea that Beowulf shows up and is strictly there to, like, he's the guy who is there to win. Like, he shows up and he immediately challenges Gilgamesh, and he's like, we have a system. And he goes, okay.
Yeah.
I don't see why we're wasting time, but okay.
Yeah. It's like, buddy, you're in round one. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
You want a piece of this? Get here. Who?
Peter Pan is public domain. Any of the Arabian Nights characters, so Sinbad, Aladdin, Phantom of the Opera, really? Huh.
Okay, so
Sweeney Todd.
Yes, please, Doc.
Any Jane Austen characters, we can have the entire cast of Pride and Prejudice show up.
Oh, cool. So Hugh Grant will definitely be here.
Yes.
I'm
right.
gonna on Hugh Grant.
Yeah, dude. So's mine and my lips, hopefully.
We pan across all the fighters, and Hugh Grant just standing there, just kind of like, I don't know why I'm here.
Yeah. Okay, so what do you think would be a good like push to get this thing going? We need our window character, which means Gatsby has to pop in to this person's world and tell him the rules of what's happening.
Yeah.
Who's our window character?
Do we want the narrator to be a public a pop culture character? Or do we want them to be kind of like, you know how every tournament has like the fighting person who's just like, they're always like a cop or like they're either someone who knows how to fight or like a public servant, like a librarian.
And what's their role? What do you?
This is the narrator. This is the main character.
Okay. Oh, this is the window character.
Do we want them to be a public domain figure, or do we want them to be kind of like the every person?
Now let's make them a public domain figure as well. Like maybe that's what I was thinking. Maybe Sherlock would be a very good window character because he would want to know like what's going on, why is this happening, but also he can hold his own, so he would still be getting through the tournament.
Let's see.
And also, if Sherlock fights, does he get Watson as like a sidekick, or is he like a utility belt?
Watson's his guy on the end, just shouting advice to him from the stands.
Yeah, he's his trainer in his corner, I guess, is as best as he can get, yeah.
Yeah. Throw in the towel, Rock.
Can't win, Rock.
We have Robin Hood.
Robin Hood? That is the main character, you think?
It could be. That'd be interesting.
I mean, are they going to let him fight with like bow and arrow and stuff, or
We'd probably have a sword or a knife or something.
All right, cool.
These are public domain figures. We can reinterpret them to be as edgy and modern as we like them to be.
True.
Ooh.
True.
So everyone's being played by Jamie Foxx then. He is edgy and cool. Okay, so Robin Hood is our window character, and he's doing his business in Sherwood Forest or whatever. And then I guess Great Gatsby pops out of nowhere and was like, "Hey, you're being summoned."
Is there magic in this? Because he could magically portal in.
Yeah, kind of like a big ray of light, kind of like he shoots down from the heavens, like, and he's there, something like that.
So maybe we don't use Gatsby for that. Is there a public domain figure that is more magical or that has a little bit more of those kind of powers that would be out of the fight but kind of getting this thing going? Because I like Gatsby as like the sponsor or like the goat or whatever. Like this thing's sponsored by Great Gatsby. Yeah, it's great.
Any of the Brothers Grimm characters are fair use.
All right, so let's just say the Grimm brothers.
Both of them?
Yeah, sure. That's cool. Yeah.
Why not?
Because they always like good cop, bad cop people. I think that might be funny too.
They do a fusion dance where they...
So we're going to say the Grimm brothers are popping in and out of all of existence and picking out people for Gilgamesh to fight because he is bored and he wants to just fight the best of the best. I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So. All right, so they go and they grab Robin Hood, and that's how this story starts.
We probably open up on Robin Hood. Wait, are we doomed? Are we cursing ourselves by having Robin Hood in this movie? Because the last movie to have Robin Hood in it that did well would be either Robin Hood Men in Tights or Shrek 1.
Dude, you said Robin Hood. I said Sherlock Holmes.
No, I know, and I'm thinking to myself now, is this a good idea?
I am never a fan of Robin Hood, ever.
Okay.
I don't like the story. I think it's stupid.
Okay.
Although we can make him edgier now, so we can kind of reinvent Robin Hood for a new crowd. Maybe.
All right, that's cool. So a reinvented Robin Hood. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, probably a little bit more
like Hawkeye.
Yeah, why not?
But not.
Actually, but not because Hawkeye's not public domain.
Yeah, but not. But he's definitely Robin Hood. All right, cool.
Maybe like a Robin Hood who drinks a lot and he's more of a cranky Robin Hood. He robs from the rich and just kind of sprinkles a little bit to the poor because he's just sick of his job and he's sick of the years of the dainty Robin Hood. So now he's an angry Robin Hood.
He slices a bag of coins and then he just leaves it on someone's table and walks off. He's like, "You guys distribute it. I'm done."
He robs from the rich but shops local.
Yeah.
He robs from Walmart and gives mom and pop a sneaker shop. There you go.
I love it.
So I'm seeing this opening scene as kind of probably a bog standard Robin Hood action romp where we see him either fighting the sheriff of Nottingham or whatever, and then he's interrupted when the Brothers Grimm show up and they're like, we have what, an invitation for you?
Or
you've been summoned.
Yeah.
You've been served.
Or get out of your lightweight, boring life and prove your worth, kind of thing.
Yeah. You think you're something?
Since we're jacking him up a little bit,
They have that moment where he's sitting in the bar drinking, and then he's sit on either side of him, and they order beers, and they're like twin brothers, and they go, it's like, well, you seem tired, like you're in a rut. Well, we have an opportunity. And they hand him like an envelope with a wax seal on it with whatever Gilgamesh's like sign is.
Yeah.
And then I would imagine he probably says no the first time.
Yeah, 100%. He probably says no. The Brothers Grimm, what they do is they most likely try to get him drunk so he passes out. Then he wakes up in whatever carriage system is taking him away because he has to go.
They say he says no and gets up to walk away, and they say something to him that makes him like stop. Like, the camera's on him, and he stops and he turns around. And do they then like do they kidnap him? They knock him out and kidnap him?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's good. I said they could walk him out of the bar like reluctantly, and Nottingham could be like in the middle of the street, and he just backhands him like, beat it, dude. Got no more time for you. And he flattens out Nottingham, and he's on to his next big adventure.
Yeah, that's perfect.
His rebirth, if you will.
Okay,
So generally the plot points for like a tournament arc, and that's kind of how I'm viewing this, is we see some of the contestants before they join the tournament because we see that their normal lives and how they're competent enough to be selected for this. They are approached by a figure who invites them to, whatever the draw is, whether it's the winning fund or the glory or just the chance to do something different. They are invited, and eventually they accept. We go to it, and it's like the prep round where we see the big Coliseum or whatever the place is, and we get an exposure to the fact that this is happening, and in a setting like this, not only is it happening, but we've pulled fighters from every era of time and space to undergo this tournament. So you get a little bit of that fish out of water aspect where the person realizes that their existence is not in isolation.
Yeah. So I was going to say, most likely with how that would work, it would have Robin Hood in that area, and he's walking around and he's seeing the rules and he's understanding the thing, and then he has to witness a fight. Right? Okay. There's always that one where the window character witnesses the first fight, so he understands what happens when he loses. So I'll say that that's probably the end of episode 1, is him witnessing a fight, seeing the results of how that would happen.
And it would need to be someone like Popeye versus like a serious threat, because Popeye's probably Conan, and he's kind of a brawler. So I imagine you see we would never call him Popeye by name, but he'd be just like described or like visibly as like a sailor in an archaic naval uniform, just absolutely built and doing like the fisticuffs thing. And then he's like fighting Conan or something, and Conan just bisects him with his sword or something.
Cool. All right. So episode 1 ends with Popeye versus Conan.
Why not? That's a good fight.
It's a great fight. And obviously Conan wins. What happens to the loser in the fight? Like what happens when they lose?
I imagine they probably have someone who can either heal them and return them, or this is like you're in it to win it or die.
Yeah, I think the die part makes, I think that's more interesting. Them just going back to their world. Although that's kind of cool, like Robin Hood being just popped back into Sherwood Forest, being like, oh my God, I just saw like a whole bunch of crazy stuff. And then Friar Tuck's like, nah, you're just hungover. Or what? So what do you think, Jeff? Do they disappear from existence, or do they get healed and come back with the knowledge or something else?
Pretty good. I would say, I would kind of like them to see them be the eternal prisoner. Like they are in a dungeon for life, and you always see like kind of like real attractive sorcerer girl kind of approach them. You never hear what she says to them, never sees what she does to them, and next thing you know, they're in prison for life.
Yeah, that's way better.
Like you lost, and here are the consequences. You never hear them or see them, but like flip screen and boom, now they're locked away forever.
Yeah, cool. Prisoners for life.
Zach, do we have an idea on how many episodes we would want to set this at?
I have down here 8.
Okay.
It shouldn't be more than 8. I was thinking at first 6. 8 seems okay depending on what kind of story we're trying to tell here.
I really like. We've done TV layouts before, and I really like the 8 episode. Arcs.
Yeah, it works. It works for me.
Yeah.
So that's good. Okay. So episode 1 is pretty much wrapped up, and it's Robin Hood entering this area and learning a couple of the rules, seeing his first fight, which is Popeye versus Conan. Conan wins. Popeye gets drug away to an eternal prison, and it is a horrific scene, and it lets everybody know, I don't want to lose.
Bring your A game.
Right. Cannot lose this.
So who is going to be... So a lot of times in a tournament arc, the main character or every fighter will be accompanied by a handler who works for the tournament organizer as a way for them to like answer questions, get them equipment, that sort of thing. Is there someone we would see working as like a foil, or like you know how in Hercules he's got Pan, that sort of thing?
Phil.
Yeah, Phil.
Yeah, I like that idea. I like them all being the same, almost like Oompa Loompas for everybody, but like demonic Oompa Loompas, whatever that would be.
We're getting I'm not going to say we're getting a little close, but we are approaching the same territory as our friends from Super Bracket Bros.
Okay. So then each person gets to bring their own. They got their own handler.
Yeah. Okay, so he's got Little John.
Or Friar Tuck, one of the two.
I like the idea of Little John because I feel like Robin Hood is like older, and Little John is like this big like who's the guy who was in Don't Breathe and Avatar? Stephen Lang.
Oh, yeah.
It's this older Robin Hood, and Stephen Lang is like Little John, and he's standing there with his arms crossed, and he looks like he's not taking any nonsense.
So you can have one if you choose, right? Is that the thing?
Yeah, I think so.
So as you get taken, say, look, we're going to take you. You can bring a person, a manager, or whatever if you like. And
select your handler.
Yeah, and then I guess in this situation, Little John probably submitted himself because I don't think Robin Hood would ever do that.
He was probably trying to prevent the Brothers Grimm from taking him, and probably got taken along as like, well, if you're going to go, then I'm coming with
Yeah,
you're not going to have all this fun by yourself.
No, I like that.
Kind of, because you're not going into the ring, and he goes, "We'll see about that."
So normally in tournament scenario or movies or anything, the window character almost has to fight the second fight for some reason. They witness a fight, and then they're called to the second fight, and it's always like, I didn't think I had to fight this early, whatever. And either something happens, or they win by default, or something. So who do you think should fight in the second episode? Or we probably should do a couple fights, right?
We should show a few different fights with some throwaway characters in the first episode.
Yeah. All right, cool. So in each episode, we'll show one fight, and then there's the main fight of the episode. Cool.
Yeah. And I feel like if we're doing 8 episodes, then we should probably have Robin Hood fight in the first episode. Like we should have him view it like a montage, and then the Popeye Conan fight is kind of like everybody's rooting for Conan because he always puts on a great show. And then...
Well, I think if we're going to push it to 8 episodes, it does make sense for him to just have nothing but the rush of emotion and the overwhelming sense of like what this world is. And then he has to be forced to fight in the second episode, which I think makes maybe a longer storytelling style.
Sure.
So let's say he gets the first fight, right? And it's an easy fight for him. So who would Robin Hood fight that is an easy fight for him? Which I'm assuming he's going to just do like the Indiana Jones move and just whip out like an arrow and just pop somebody in the face, right?
I'm scrolling through just a public domain list of characters, and I get down to one section, and it's just one word. It's just God, and I'm like,
not yet.
Yeah.
I'm cool if we do like Frankenstein. That might be kind of cool. Zorro versus Robin Hood would be a cool fight. But I do like it being like if Robin Hood's like kind of really upset to go in, he doesn't really want to do it, and then once he gets in there, he's just like, all right, I'm out of here. What do I got to do next?
Yeah,
that might be kind of cool.
Let's see. I'm looking through.
That makes Zorro good because Zorro can kind of do the Indiana Jones where he's playing with his sword and kind of getting in his face, and Robin Hood's like, I ain't got time for this. And away.
Or Peter Pan, and Peter Pan's trying to fly around being all fancy, and Robin Hood just plucks him out of the air.
Oh, I was thinking Peter Pan too. That's a little light, but okay.
Yeah, I think that's funny because he's all like just whipping around. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be Disney's Peter Pan. This can be like there was a novel written called The Child Thief by Brom, where it paints Peter Pan in a far more classical interpretation, where he is kidnapping human children, and he's like a fae creature. So he's kidnapping human children to like increase his army size. So I figured it would be kind of like all of these figures are going to be our interpretation of them, not necessarily how they're portrayed in their own stuff.
But in all fairness, there is something funny about Disney's Peter Pan, like flying around with his little wooden sword, like trying to do something, and then Robin Hood's like, I cannot handle this.
I'm starting to imagine this Robin Hood is being played by an older Oscar Isaac.
Oh, cool. All right. Yeah, let's try to make let's make Robin Hood cool. But we are at the hour mark, Dylan. So do you want to throw in a big promo real quick?
All right. Hello, everybody. Just tuning in or tuning in recently since our last update. You're watching Talking UpStream, where myself and Zach, that guy, and our friend this week, Jeff the Shark Porrini from the Yo Show, are developing an idea into a concept that ideally we can produce and sell later. That idea this week is what Zach brought, which is the public domain tournament, which we have kind of decided is an attempt by Gilgamesh to collect the universe's greatest fighters so that he can beat the universe's greatest fighter in an attempt to earn some glory. It seems like Robin Hood is going to be the narrator. We're going to see him and Little John kind of navigate this multi-dimensional tournament complex, and we're doing it as an 8-episode animated series or something like that. Something that allows us to really kind of go nuts on the designs without having to drain the budget too much, because we don't have.
Yeah, I love that.
So we're figuring out where kind of these story beats are going right now.
Yeah, I also had the idea. Okay, so I like Robin Hood versus Peter Pan in the first fight. That's really funny and quick and whatever. And I think it'd be a really interesting thing, and then set this precedence moving forward, is that Beowulf like nominates himself for every fight every single time. Like if he there's like 2 fights per day, and then Beowulf walks into the first one, he goes, I'm fighting, I don't care.
Yeah. And I like the idea that Gilgamesh. I was confused for a brief minute. I thought you meant Gilgamesh. I had an idea that every option Gilgamesh offers them the opportunity. You can fight a random fighter from the lots, or you can fight me. And they're always just like, I'll take the random one.
I'll take Peter Pan.
I like the idea that Beowulf is always like offering people that he'll take their spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I like that.
He gets a bye in the first round, so you don't see him fight initially. And then when you do, it's going to be horrific. Like,
dude, he wrecks people.
Yeah. Cool.
Just like rips people by the legs in half. Like he is a monster.
Does the mountain thing from Game of Thrones, spoilers, where he just goes.
Yeah.
So wrestling days with Goldberg, like he would take like the weeniest guy, just like splatter him in 10 seconds.
Dude, just spear him and then like growl and leave.
Yeah, I like it. Just give the girth and go.
All right. So what would be
episode 2 starts with the Robin Hood versus Peter Pan fight? Is that how we're doing it?
Yeah.
So we lead up to it throughout the first one, and then it like episode 1 ends with him like in the prep chamber, and then the doors open. And then episode 2 starts with like he walks out with his bow and his sword.
Yeah.
And Peter Pan like flits out, and Robin Hood is just going.
Yeah.
Nails him in the chest or something.
Yeah, episode one ends with somebody going up to him, probably the Grimm brothers, to Robin Hood, and be like, you always fight on your first day. And he's like, whoa. And then that's when it cuts out to black. Episode 2 starts with the Peter Pan fight. I think that's cool. So we have Peter Pan versus Robin Hood. Who would be an imposing force for Beowulf to fight that he would obviously demolish, but that you would think like, oh, this is going to be a pretty good fight, but it's not.
Well, we've already shown Conan fighting someone. It could be.
Well, I think the Conan Beowulf fight could be like a mid-season finale, just to show like, oh, cool, here's the two guys, and then Beowulf just slaughters him also.
Yeah. Although I'm going to put one out there that Conan should hold his ground for a little while, only because I'm a fan.
I know you are.
I know. We have yet to have a really good version ever since the Schwarzenegger ones. Let's see.
Momoa is a very good Conan. So
good Conan. That movie was not a good movie.
That movie is garbage. That is true. What about Frankenstein?
I was gonna say Frankenstein. I think is ideal because he's big, kind of mindless, and people think like, oh, his power is he's gonna hang in there.
Yeah, I like that. So Frankenstein's monster.
That's Beowulf versus Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah, and then
it's an opportunity to really like get some dismemberment in there.
Yes.
Oh yeah, like Beowulf is gonna just like take his arm off and beat him with it, like jam it in his mouth and do some really stupid, weird stuff.
Eat it.
Just take a bite of it, throw it like it's a grenade for no reason. And I like that people are even like scared of Frankenstein. Like, hey, we saw this guy fight yesterday. You gotta watch out.
Well, they warn him against dismembering him because it's like, hey, if you take that arm off, that arm is going to be another enemy you have to fight because it's crawling along.
He's like, trust
me. We see Beowulf do it, and he just like he crushes it between his hands or something.
He takes like an arm off and then snaps the arm's neck. Okay, so that's episode 2. I think that's cool. Episode 3, we're gonna. Who do you want to have in episode 3? So now let's see. Frankenstein's dead. Peter Pan's done. Who now? Popeye is also done.
So presumably this is more than just the fights, and we need Robin Hood to have some sort of actual like storyline through it, right?
Yeah,
not just needing to get home.
So maybe like Robin Hood, like the underlying story is he's like looking to drink, like he's looking for like beverages or something.
Yeah.
And then that's when he maybe stumbles upon Sherlock Holmes and he's like, hey, do you know why we're here? Do you know what any of this is?
Yeah.
So maybe like him and Sherlock kind of do buddy cop stuff throughout this whole thing. Because they're two fighters.
They bond over their similar Britishness.
Yeah, and their love for substances. Because isn't every iteration of Sherlock Holmes addicted to something?
Cocaine mostly.
Yeah.
Oh, it's cocaine?
Yeah.
I thought it was like heroin or alcohol.
Yeah, I thought it was heroin also. I thought it was heroin.
Is it heroin?
Yeah, I thought for some reason he was like opiates to like calm his brain down or something.
It could have been anything.
Either way, maybe Robin Hood.
In episode 2, he meets Sherlock Holmes, and it's just like, this is a little strange, don't you think? There has to be something more to it.
Yeah, and they can't find alcohol, but Sherlock Holmes has drugs.
Yeah. I figure episode 2 is when, after the fight, during the decompression for Robin Hood, the world kind of opens up for him.
Yeah.
He and Little John go out and explore a little bit. We see some characters who are going to hang out.
Oh, so Little John and Watson meet each other first, and they introduce Robin Hood and Sherlock.
Yeah,
oh, that's cute.
Not bad.
Yeah.
They meet in the stands.
Little John can kind of do a Little John can kind of have a little talk about, you got my guy here, you got to help me get my guy out of here, something like that.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, so that is the concurring storyline throughout the whole thing. We'll figure that out next.
Sherlock Holmes and Robin Hood Sherlock Holmes notices something weird is going on and is trying to get like a resistance going or something, and Robin Hood is not interested because he's like, I've seen how resistances go. Maybe he lost Miriam to like, maybe the sheriff got her or something, and so now that's why he's all like bitter.
Yeah, yeah.
He could be like Bizarro Superman. What's that? Superman 3, where he becomes like the angry drunk. That's like the new Robin Hood. Like he's all shoddy, dark, drinks, miserable. I
like that. Yeah, and it's right before like his wedding. So he's like, look, it's taking me this long to say yes to this woman. I got to get back and get this done.
Yeah.
Who is fighting in episode 3?
King Kong is in public domain.
Oh God. Well, I definitely think Sherlock should fight in episode 3.
Yeah, we should show Sherlock beating someone up.
Yeah, so Sherlock's got to fight.
Wynn says Godzilla, but
he said Godzilla.
I don't think
Sherlock versus Godzilla. I don't think Sherlock could take that one.
In the background, there's a bigger Coliseum, and it's like, what's that one for? It's like, oh, that's for all the the larger contestants. And then you hear Godzilla's roar off screen.
The plus size fighting.
That's the heavyweight Coliseum.
All right, so Sherlock Holmes versus Sinbad, right? Or Zorro. Zorro or Sinbad?
Either or.
Yeah. Let's do Sinbad.
Yeah.
Okay, and so obviously Sherlock's going to win that one. So Sinbad's out. Who is the bigger fight of the second one?
Power
so
Rangers.
we're going to say Power Rangers.
He's got Power Rangers. He put that as a comment on.
Oh, the Power Rangers. That's not public domain. Win.
John Carter from John Carter of Mars.
Oh, cool.
And
all right.
Somehow he's kept on the powers he got while he was on Mars. So like he's got super strength. He can jump really far.
All right. So John Carter versus Dracula. But then Beowulf is like, no, me.
Oh yeah. Maybe when they draw lots, they're like, yeah, Dracula, but it's daytime, so we're gonna have to, wait for him. And then Beowulf steps forward and he goes, me. Put me in, coach. I'm ready. And then they're like, it's all the same to us. Like someone's got to have a bye. And if Dracula's schedule is being weird, he missed out. And then Beowulf fights John Carter and just absolutely, like, literally rips him to pieces.
Dude, love that. That's perfect. Okay, so now we're at the mid-season finale. This is episode 4. We're going to do some more work on the storyline, but we kind of got to get, like, the big fight thing. So I think that's probably Conan versus Beowulf.
Yeah.
Right?
It's nasty.
Yeah. But also, is this the first time that we see somebody call down Gilgamesh, if that's, like, a thing they can do?
Beowulf beats Conan after a long fight, turns around and immediately challenges Gilgamesh to a fight, and then Gilgamesh accepts. He goes, okay, and he's like, he does that thing where he puts his foot on the barrier and then jumps down and just does the superhero landing.
Yeah.
And it is Gilgamesh versus Beowulf, and it's not a contest.
Perfect. All right, and that's when everybody realizes, like, oh man, Gilgamesh is like a big deal. He's awesome. Yeah. He's awesome. That's cool. Okay, so we take a little bit of a break, and then we're going to pick back up in episode 5. And episode 5,
we get a line from Gilgamesh where he's just like, "There's one every year," or something along the lines of like, and this is, I always accept one premature challenge as a warning to the rest of you to follow the order, or something like that. He says, I'm here for glory, and there's no glory in destroying someone who acts outside of, he gives his villain speech or something.
Yeah. Also, in these tournament-style movies, especially when friendships are made, there has to be some part, and I think this happens in episode 5 of 8, where Robin Hood is up against Sherlock Holmes, and then something happens and they don't fight, like somebody else gets in the way for some reason, but I think that has to happen. That's that tension builder. So
who would be involved in this? Who would be invited to this tournament that causes a whole bunch of just trouble, just a whole bunch of chaos?
I mean, Vlad would. That dude was, for a while, all he wanted to do was raise his numbers. So he just wanted to kill people. But we could definitely have him.
He interrupts the fight somehow, and it becomes like...
Yeah, because so if Vlad got pulled out of the last episode because of daytime, nighttime crap, he'll come in and he goes, no, I'm fighting this. I don't care which one of you two. I'm fighting one of you two. Which means... Yeah.
Or he challenges Gilgamesh again, and Gilgamesh is like, I've already fought out of sequence. We're not doing this again. And then his, it becomes Dracula somehow got, like, his army in there, and it fights Gilgamesh's stuff. And so there's this... the tournament is interrupted by an uprising of some sort, which has to be quelled. Which has to be quelled before the fighting can continue.
Okay. And he could also, Gilgamesh could also, kind of passively tell Vlad, look, here's 2 easy wins. Take your pick of which one of these guys you want. So it's in the back of your mind, this SOB thinks we're lightweights. We'll show him how. Vlad Vlad takes one of them apart, but the other guy still has in the back of his mind that they're being considered lightweights.
Yeah,
I like that. Yeah, that's cool. And that's when we get the uprising. So we only get one fight during that episode.
and I feel like eventually at some point, Robin Hood and Sherlock have to do like a tag team match or duos or something.
Yeah.
Where it's like, due to the interruption, we've had to abbreviate the standard process. So now every fight is a 2-on-2. And it's Sherlock and Robin Hood versus like Tarzan and maybe a Lovecraft character.
Well, we still haven't used Zorro yet either.
Oh yeah, why not? Let's do Zorro. Oh man, that's gonna be episode 6.
Tarzan and Zorro versus Sherlock Holmes and Robin Hood.
Yeah,
cool.
And they're all in there, and they're all a little hesitant to fight. And it's like, hey, you're a good fighter. Yeah, you too. Under different circumstances, we'd be in a better spot. And I feel like that should be when they kind of pull one over on Gilgamesh, where they get out of it in a way where like maybe they surrender and they do the Maximus the Merciful thing from Gladiator, where they refuse to kill their opponents.
Well, then they'll become prisoners for eternity.
Maybe the punishment is something else. Maybe they're used as like...
Unless one of them has the totally brilliance to talk his way around this prison guard kind of creature and be like, look, this is what's in it for you if we get out of here, because we have the key to get out of here, which they really don't, but they manipulated that,
That's definitely a Sherlock move anyway.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right, so what they
team up with Zorro and Tarzan to like either bring Gilgamesh down or get everybody back to their time.
Okay. So episode 6 is going to be, for some reason, because of what Vlad does in episode 5, Gilgamesh like, fine, let's just do 2 versus 2. We got to get this stuff over with anyway, blah, blah, blah. And this is when Sherlock Holmes and Robin Hood forfeit, and because Sherlock has an idea, and they go to the prison, Sherlock, whatever, and he does the rope-a-dope and zigs when obviously they thought he zagged, and they get out of it. And then they're going to team up with those other 2 guys, Tarzan and Zorro. I'm guessing in episode 8. That's when that kind of thing is going to pop out. So do you have something that we can throw into episode 7? Or Which one
did you say was episode 8?
Episode 8 is going to have to be the final battle. This is when like Gilgamesh thinks he's fighting the end, and then our heroes like obviously thwart the plans for whatever reason.
I'm seeing... So 6, they're in prison. And I feel like at the end they might talk their way out of it and team up. And then 7 should be them trying to get everybody together in like a concerted effort to return to how things are.
So this is everyone kind of getting people together and be like, look, it's either we all fight him at once or half of it, we all die.
Right.
So let's just go at him. Right? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
and then they convince King Kong to go.
They could.
Or they convince Godzilla to come help.
They're planning on just escaping, and then Gilgamesh knew about it, so like they all get captured, knocked out, and wake up in the tournament as like a free for all or something. Oh, like
cool!
That.
Like a Royal Rumble,
battle royale, and then they have to. It's Gilgamesh is like, you are invited to my tournament, and you try to overthrow it, but I am merciful, so the last remaining like 3 contestants will be sent back to their homes, all the richer for it. Now, slaughter each other for my entertainment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then, eventually, of course, some of them do, but for the most part, they're like, no, we're not going to do this. Come fight us yourself. And he goes, well, okay, very well. And he hops into the arena, and we see him kind of like, dance between the raindrops and kill everybody.
Yeah.
You got to have that big hero speech, like in the middle of the free-for-all. And Robin Hood kind of comes through. He's like, look, we can die in that prison. We can die in this battle. Or we could all get together and get the hell out of here. And then they all think, flashbacks, build like the little wall, and just attack as a group. Yeah.
Just go 300 style at him. That's cool.
You got to have that hero speech, of course. You got to have that,
absolutely.
that big moment. Yeah.
And it's Robin Hood kind of recapturing the earlier rob from the rich, give to the poor thing, where he goes, he does the whole like, Gilgamesh. He points up at the organizer box. He does that thing.
Yeah.
Maybe he shoots an arrow at him because and then Gilgamesh just like dinks it away from him in mid-flight, something like that.
Yeah. And he's like, no, it's about community. We got to do this together. Because obviously Sherlock Holmes has been flying solo for so long because he's like the best of the best. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so when Sherlock Holmes and Robin Hood get together and they start doing like their team thing, what are some underlying storylines they could be doing throughout the season to kind of rabble rouse? So obviously they need to try to figure out what's going on, number one, right? They need to try to figure out a way out. They also need to try to figure out Gilgamesh's weaknesses, if there is any, because they're going to try to win, I guess. Cool. So they're working on all that, and they kind of have their people getting together. And I would assume each person that kind of dies in these battles was the newest member of like their squadron. So it's always looking like pretty abysmal for them.
Yeah.
And then what would you say is the final thing? What are we looking at the very end of this? So we see all of our heroes. We see a rousing Robin Hood tale. He's getting everybody back to rob from the rich and give to the poor. And what do we see?
I feel like at this point, maybe Robin Hood had deposed the Sheriff of Nottingham, maybe, and had been offered the spot. And he goes, I'm not going to become what I was fighting against. And then he realizes that he is like capable of leading people, actually, because he led the Merry Men, and I'm assuming if this is going to be Dark Robin Hood, most of them are probably dead at this point. So it's probably Robin Hood kind of like coming into his own as sort of a leader. Again,
how do they beat Gilgamesh?
Okay. Well, let's see. What was it that Gilgamesh was questing for? It wasn't the fleece. That was one of the different Greek ones.
Maybe one of these heroes has to take his life to make sure they beat him at the end. So they're going to lose one of these members no matter what.
I don't know a lot about Gilgamesh to know like if he has like a weakness or if he has a storyline that can be exploited.
The original Epic of Gilgamesh is that he becomes afraid of the idea of death, so he seeks immortality, and it's like he finds a plant on the banks of the river that is going to give him immortality, and when he's sleeping, it gets eaten by a snake, and then the snake sheds its skin and becomes young, and that's how they explain that as like a thing for immortality.
So
cool. Maybe he's got some sort of like Beauty and the Beast style plant under a glass case in his quarters that gives him immortality or something, and part of this is their heist to like destroy that so they can actually beat Gilgamesh.
Or what Jeff said, I mean, if Gilgamesh is afraid of dying, if like some of our heroes are like, look, we'll just willingly sacrifice ourselves if this will go away. And it comes, I think, like, you're not scared of death. You're one of the greatest warriors ever. And they go, no, it's about the people, man. Like, it's not the one, it's the many.
Yeah.
And then Gilgamesh is like, fine. Yeah.
Talking him out of it.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, we'll go the Wonder Woman route. We're like, it's not about a battle; it's about conversations and community.
It's about sitting on the floor and just kind of muttering under your breath about the truth or something.
Hey, if it works, buddy.
I guess so. Well, we are kind of missing the angle of like Robin Hood's a thief.
Yeah.
What if he was trying to steal Gilgamesh's immortality? At a certain point, he realizes that, and he goes, "Well, I've got the skills. It's been a while, but I if I'm ever going to try it, now's the time." Okay,
so then the last quarter of this show becomes a heist where Sherlock Holmes is helping Robin Hood.
In between the fights, during whatever downtime they have, Robin Hood and Sherlock could be trying to steal back Gilgamesh's immortality.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, an immortality thief.
That's a good title.
It is.
Immortality thief.
It's a little better than laser flowers, yeah.
Laser flowers.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah, we all know.
I'm a perpetual work in progress. That's how.
That's my Dylan. He's so cute. Okay, so the whole thing's sponsored by Great Gatsby. I think that's funny. And Gatsby, I guess, is the one who owns whatever is the thing that keeps Gilgamesh immortal.
He's probably like Gilgamesh's contractor, or so, like he's
kind of making
fund it.
Yeah, so he's like the Vince McMahon of this. So he's like
Yeah.
forcing Gilgamesh to put this on for some kind of ratings or another gold car or something.
We can kind of sneak that into it, Robin Hood. Like at the end, Gatsby says, "Well, you beat my best. You're now the champ. This tournament becomes yours." And Robin Hood pretty much grabs his big sack of gold and says, "Once a thief, always a thief," and makes off the money.
Yeah.
And then Gatsby goes back to his quarters, and Robin Hood heisted him entirely.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah.
Or like he already have his loot, and like, once a thief, always a thief. And Gatsby's like, "Where are you going?" He's like, "I'm going home.
I got a sheriff to Hood."
Gatsby goes back to his oak room with like mahogany books, and he pours the open champagne from earlier and takes a sip, but it's Robin Hood's urine instead of champagne.
There you go. You gotta have like a real like drastic,
just a classic zinger. Yeah. Okay, Jeff. Thank you so much for hanging out, man. We really appreciate it. This is awesome. This is turned out to be actually a really cool story.
I want to watch it. I wish it was on like right now.
I know. Well, I mean, me and Dylan are going to spend some time and try to write this out and see if we can sell it, because that's what we're trying to do. Before we kind of wrap up all this story, what we do you want one last time give people who you are, where to find you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
Sounds great. We are the Yo Show. We are every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern live on Facebook at the Stoop Radio Network. The Yo Show on YouTube, and also the Yo Show on Twitch. We can find on Instagram at the Yo Show 215, and of course our website www.theyoshow215.com. Entertainment variety talk show with myself, Jeff the Shark Porrini, and the most beautiful woman in all webcast podcast, the lovely Miss Jewel Tatey. So come on by, check us out even for an episode. I think you'll get some good laughs and have a great time with us. I of course thank you guys immensely for this brilliant opportunity. This show was tremendous. This was a lot of fun, a lot of great laughs. I love it. Make sure you check out these guys. This show is excellent.
Yeah, right on, man. Thank you very much. And yeah, we don't have a show on Wednesdays, so please check out the Yo Show. Check out Mr. Shark everywhere that he is. Dylan, thank you so much for being my friend. I appreciate you. You really just keep me churning. And I like that. That's cool. Everybody at home, thank you very much for watching another episode of Talking Upstream. In this one, Mr. Porrini chose not laser followers, thank goodness. He did choose the public domain Street Fighter. And what Dylan and I, Mr. Porrini, put together was an 8-episode, either Netflix-style anime, maybe an 8-episode comic book series. We're not really sure, where Gilgamesh is taking on the best of all the public domain fighters, because the Brothers Grimm is picking them out because they're punks. That's it. Brothers Grimm are always punks. In every iteration, they are punks. So, thank you so much, International Broadcast Media Television. We appreciate you every single time, all the time. Sarah Tkachuk, Scott Curtis, Listener App, Tanya Sheck, we don't care. Jeff Porrini, the Yo Show, his beautiful, better-looking partner. Check them out. Until next week, folks, we are Some Nobodies. I'm Zach, and that's Dylan right over that way somewhere. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Bye.